Hello, hello, and welcome to the webinar, The Secret to Marketing. Yes, we are going to be covering what it is that million-dollar brands really use as their secrets, their pillars, the backbone to building a brand that clients know, they follow, they like, and they trust. So I am Izzy Nalley, and I will be presenting this webinar to you today. Let me get us in present mode, and while we're getting set up, go ahead and drop in the comments your name, where you're from, what your business is. Go ahead and let's start sharing. If you're watching this on replay, go ahead and just type in replay. That lets me know around what time people are watching, the best time to do these webinars. And so, a little bit about me. This is me here. And I do have my MBA, which means I've done a master's in business. I specialized in marketing, but I also have a background as a mind body therapist. I particularly nowadays do more hypnotherapy. So, really getting behind the mindset of not only you as the business owner and in charge of the marketing, but also what it is for the clients, what it is they need in order to purchase from you as well. So I like to really call these things millionaire marketing. To have $1 million business really isn't as hard as the majority of us think, especially when we're starting out. If you're a struggling solopreneur, it's going to be really hard to fathom your business as $1 million business. But I'd like to tell you that it is a lot easier than you'd think, and marketing is a lot easier than you think. What needs to happen is there needs to be alignment, and we're going to go over these key things that you really need to establish within your marketing strategy so that it is easy for you and it also gets really big results in your business, because marketing shouldn't be this big hard thing. Typically, what happens is a lot of us start to think of advertising. We start to think of the promotions at the end and why are those so hard? And we get wrapped up. But marketing is the fun thing that you do every day. And the big goal of marketing is establishing a brand that is known, liked, and trusted. That's when you get those followers. That's when you get the people that are promoting your brand for you because they want to be on board. They want to support you. They want to support your business because they love what it is you're all about. And if that is already an area where you're struggling with, then we have a lot to talk about. And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to explain to you how you can get a free session with me, no obligations, really just looking for testimonials, for getting people, expressing what it is that I really want, which is to help people get out of that scarcity mindset and into abundant mindset, which is really helping them see how easy this really can be. It's just a slight shift. I posted a quote yesterday. It was, you know, sometimes we're looking at things and it makes it seem really, really big, but all we need is a different perspective because we just are looking at it the wrong way. So let's talk about marketing. Marketing. The primary reason that any customer chooses to buy your products or services is productive marketing. So we're going to be answering those questions: that who is it for? What is it? When do they need to use it? Or when do they need it? Why do they need it? And how will it improve their life? And we're going to go through those questions and explain a lot more about those. But this is a really great starting point. If you are not sure if your marketing is on par, really sit down, get a notebook, write this out, because these are the things that you should be talking about all the time within your marketing. Is who is it for? What is it? Giving them that education. When do they need it? Is it something like they need those crystal clear things in their mind so that they can say, like, do I need it now? Do I need it in the future? Why do I need it right now? And you are giving them all of that information, not just letting them figure it out. You are giving them that information so that they don't have to think. You're putting it in front of them and telling them everything they need. And you're letting them know, like, why do they need it? So let's dive into that a little bit more. But first, let's get really, really clear about this. This is one of the biggest misconceptions, and this is one of the biggest pitfalls that I see a lot of people, or pit traps that I see people fall into with their marketing. And I'm doing those air quotes right now. You can't see me. The air quotes of marketing. So they get on their Facebook page and they start putting all of these sales and promotions, and they're like, I have this, message me. Or this is what I'm selling, buy it now. That is advertising. That is not marketing. Okay, so there's a big difference. Marketing is what starts in the very beginning, and it's what you're continuing to do. Promotion and advertising is the very last step in marketing. And for some of us that are marketing strategists, we don't even put it in the marketing category. It's kind of its own little subset at the very, very end. Now, I will talk a little bit about what it is that we need to be posting on our social media, and sales and what we have available is a little bit different when we're saying I have this product, and not instead of setting a deadline and all of these things. You do need to do that occasionally, but that will only be 1/4 of the marketing, 1/4, a quarter of the marketing. And really, for some people, they don't even need to do it even 1/4. So there's a lot more. There are 75% of marketing that you need to be doing before you are offering them a sale opportunity to buy from you. You need to establish that know, like, and trust factor. The know, like, and trust factor, okay? This is what really marketing is all about, is that know, like, and trust factor. So first and foremost, we need to talk about this, because a lot of people go into marketing and they're like, here's the solution, here's what I have. And they're not talking about the problem. For example, the problem. You're coming to this because you're struggling with marketing. You are struggling with getting sales. You are struggling with showing up confidently. You're struggling in general with your business or anything. You're not super crystal clear. You're not being consistent, and you're not showing up with confidence. And it's creating a pain point for you because it's taking up too much time. Maybe you're scared to spend money on it, or you've already spent too much money on it, or you want to save money. You also want to change your status. You want to be viewed differently. Okay? So these are pillars that have been taught in marketing for, let's say, 50 years or so. I think that's about when marketing really started. So over the last few decades, this is really the pillars of marketing and sales. This is not going to change. Why? Because if you look at any philosophy book, if you look at all throughout history, us humans keep having the same problems over and over and over. The only thing that's changing is how that problem might be affecting our life, or how we come about a solution. The solutions are changing. Okay? And so what we're selling is changing, so we need to show them how it relates to their problem. So first we need to understand the problem, not just the problem in general, but the problem from their point of view, which is what we're going to go into next, about understanding your audience. This is where, and I completely know how you feel if you've heard this a million times, because I remember hearing it a million times and not doing it. You need a niche or a target market. And I kept thinking, but I have the solution for so many people's problems that I don't need a target market. But you do, because you need to understand it from their point of view. Now, what I tell people is you can change up your target market every 3 months or so if you need to, or if you want to. And you can have multiple markets. But you have to pick one and start there. Otherwise, you're going to be multitasking and getting confused and just not doing it or not doing it well. So just start and pick one and allow yourself to play with that, experiment with that, and see how that works for you. And picking a target market isn't as hard as you think it is. It could be example women or men, and just because you pick to work with women doesn't mean that you're not going to occasionally get a man. Okay, so you're not excluding anyone, you're just allowing your voice and your message to be targeted so that you can really speak to those pain points. So we want to pick a problem from their point of view, and you should be able to break that down and get really specific. That helps you with your marketing, because if you're general, then you're talking about anything and everything, and that doesn't speak to anybody. We need to speak to them. So, and then once we identify that, we need to understand that the pain of not changing needs to be greater than the pain of taking action. So we're getting them to take action because we understand their pain. And this is change in general. I work with behavioral change. I work with change in organizations. And it always comes back to this. And in sales, it is no different. You've got pain problem in one hand, and you've got the pain of not doing anything in the other hand. Which one weighs more? And that comes down to, in business, we say the ROI, the return on investment. What's the value? What's the value of them taking action? Okay. And I know this is a lot to think about, but it comes back to understanding the problem, understanding their pain. And then you're just going to identify, of these three categories, time, money, and status, what does that pain relate to? Maybe it relates to all three of them. If so, you have got a money maker on your hands. Way to go. Fantastic. Start talking about it, because people want to know that you understand their problem. Okay? They want to know that you understand their problem. So you're either saving them time or finding ways for them to have more time. You are either saving them money, getting more out of their money, or making them more money. And then status can be as far as they're just going to feel cooler. They're going to show up cooler. They're going to, maybe status literally, like they're going to feel like they're the rich and famous. So we want to improve their status in some way. And then, of course, once you start to identify that problem, and again, yes, we have a solution to their problem, but so many of us get stuck because we're so stuck on our solution and how our solution is absolutely amazing that we forget to talk about the problem, and we forget to talk about how it works and why it's better for this audience. So understanding your audience, here's some tips. I'm going to go through these real quick. Do you know who you're talking to? I know I'm talking to business owners. I know that I'm talking to business owners. And I know that these business owners are struggling with marketing. So, and I know that because I've worked with plenty of people. And if you don't have your marketing down, then you're not really confident about your product. Confidence in marketing, it comes from confidence in your product and understanding all of these. Your entire business is going to be based on all of this. How much you know it, how well you know it. You don't have to know it super well in the beginning while you're researching. But you do need to understand these so that you can then begin to build the rest of your business around it. So don't base your marketing solely on your opinions and desires. We need to know who the audience is. You all should have things in common, but we want to talk to the customer. We want to make it about the customer, not us. Learn all that you can about your potential customers, such as where do they shop? What other problems do they have? What is it about their life? What is their income level, their education level? And I'm sure you all have heard those things before. Like paint a picture of this ideal person. And that really will help you when you get into your storytelling. What have they tried in the past? What have they already tried and it didn't work for them? Are they at the beginning of trying to solve this problem, or are they super frustrated and you have an answer that all the other options have not provided? Consider the overwhelming power of emotion in the buying process as well. And we're going to get into that more in the storytelling portion next. But you should also know and appreciate the value of your existing customers as well. So, knowing our audience, it's really important that you know the people that you're already selling to as well. If you're like, I don't know, I'm just starting out, I don't know who these customers are, then you need to do that market research. You need to, and you're going to continue to check in on it. But once you've done that foundational work, you don't necessarily need to do it quite as often, but you do need to check in with it and check in with the market. And then the biggest tip that I can give you is learn how to screen out the undesirable customers. So, knowing who your customer is not is also just as important as knowing who they are. Such as if you know that you need buying customers, and there's these people who are in the beginning of the game and they don't have the money to purchase, or they're the complainer type. I'll make a joke, no offense to anyone, but the Karens, right? The people are there just to pick a fight with you. Screen them out. This is supposed to be easy. This is your business. You get to choose who you want to work with. Okay? You get to screen those people out. If you know that your price point is $5,000, then you're going to have a way to screen out anybody that can't afford that. So you need to know that you're not wasting your time as well. Now, in the beginning, I tell people, it's great to, if you're starting a new program and you need some testimonials, you can get whoever to be your testimonial. You want people that need transformation, but that are also going to show up and do the work. Because as a business owner, you need people getting results. So anybody that's going to be, not fully in, they're not going to do the work if you're a service-based business, then you need to find a way to screen them out or amp them up. Because you need customers that get results. You need testimonials. You want success in your business. You want that transformation. So know who you're talking to. Storytelling. Okay, I just did a whole book study this past week. You can catch it on replay, all about vulnerability. Okay, and this is where I struggled with this a lot in the beginning. Getting out there, telling my story, being vulnerable to really share myself. And so for some people, this is just showing up on camera in general. Maybe that's your vulnerable point. Tell a story. Now, storytelling can happen a couple of different ways. You can be telling a story of what your ideal customer, where they were and where they're going to be, and create a story so that people can relate to it, so that you can show them, you can give them an example. You can tell them your story. You can tell them a story of a previous customer experience. Of course, making sure that you're honoring that customer, that they've either their privacy's been protected or you've gotten their okay. And storytelling is so important because we learn through and we're captivated by stories. This is why so many of us are addicted to, Netflix, Prime, Hulu, whatever it might be. This is why we love movies. We're going on a journey with someone. We're seeing their transformation. We're learning little things through the story. This is, so huge because stories have been in our cultures all throughout time. We would gather together and listen to the stories. For me, I started my business 7, 8 years ago. 8 years ago, where I officially started my business. Before that, I did a lot of MLM and these salesy jobs, and I really, really struggled. And I found that a lot of it was my mindset and my perfectionism and how I wanted people to perceive me or not perceive me. And I got really caught up in that. And then I created a business and I really struggled with a lot of these foundations. And then I started noticing as I tweaked things, and I had a yoga business, and I started specifying, like I was teaching yoga for back health. Suddenly people were showing up out of the woodworks to come to these these classes, and I was like, well, all yoga is back health. But just because I titled it that, they felt like it spoke to them. And so then I would start to tell them of my story of how I was healing my back after a lot of problems, trauma, all of that, and how yoga had helped me. And it was becoming more and more captivating and more engaging. And I was starting to sell out left and right. And then I started doing really specific, we call the blue ocean strategy, where you do something unique, where I was teaching meditation in a butterfly garden. And I was setting myself apart from the other yoga teachers and meditation teachers. And as I did that, I ended up going to business. I did a proposal for a business program, and I got a full ride to this program because of my business plan that I put together. And I went through this business program, and I still struggled. There was still some things that I was missing, some work that I was lacking doing. And then I continued to grow my business and in different ways, and became a therapist. And then I decided to go back and get my MBA. And even in the MBA, I was still studying, and I was following all these people on social media and listening to all these webinars, and putting the pieces together of how they're doing marketing nowadays versus when I was actually in a real marketing class, and learning what they were doing and realizing these pillars and what people were doing. And I was seeing it in action and seeing what was working and what wasn't working. And I was really starting to develop my own system and put it into place. But even then, there was still these parts I was skipping over. I still hadn't put together the full picture, and my business was struggling. And then when I started to pull these things together and really list them out and make my checklist and go through my checklist and see what I really needed to do, once I combined all these things together and got really crystal clear, and I simplified, I cannot stress that enough, simplified everything, my business transformed. And so these key pillars that I am talking about in this presentation, and I'm going to summarize all of these again for you. These key pillars, I promise you, if you put them all in place and you have alignment and you really do each one of these, you will succeed. You will succeed. The only other thing it comes down to is if your product actually works. But you will get the sales. You will get the sales. We learn through stories. So, stories that support the transformation that you offer, take them on a journey. Take them on multiple journeys, but make sure that they're all on the same journey, the journey that pertains to what you're selling. Give them a picture of the dream life. So this can be a verbal picture. This can be actual, create a picture. And let them see what that end result either emotionally feels like, visually feels like. You can give them before and afters. These also have, testimonials. And then we want to humanize the business. Again, this comes back to storytelling. We want to humanize it. We don't want to be so cut off and detached in all sales. People don't want to be sold to. People want to participate in a transformation, whether it's a transformation, they want to feel like they're in on a mission to help make the world a better place, or they want to feel like they're on a mission to help you fulfill your dreams. but they want to be in it because of the humanness. And it might be the humanness of you changing their life as well, which should happen. And that comes down to the customer experience. So we're wrapping up, we're getting close towards the end. This customer experience is really, really important because we build a relationship. This is that know, like, trust factor. Know, like, trust factor. Get that in your head. Know, like, trust. They must know who you are, they must like you, and they must trust you. So at some point, they're going to discover. How are they going to discover you? Are you posting in Facebook groups? Are your customers referring you? How do you want them to discover you? How are they going to remember you? So is it that you have your hair styled a certain way? Is it a branding thing? Or is it something that you're talking about? Maybe it's that you're sending in an email every other day. How is it that they are going to remember you? And they're going to remember you because most likely they liked you. They either saw something of themselves in you, whether currently or something that they want to be. And then to trust you, they need to know that you actually have what it takes to solve their problem, that you're presenting real stuff. Okay? So this is where you're going to give them the tips and the knowledge and allow them to see you as the expert. Now, this is where the mental hangup happens for us as the business owners. Sometimes we don't always feel like the expert. Do research. Know what's out there. If you're like, I know that they want this, then go do the research. Double check yourself. Of course, I know all this stuff. I had to pass exams to know this stuff, but I still went and double checked it to make sure I was on par as I was creating this presentation. I still wanted to jot down my notes. Could I freestyle it? Sure. But I wanted to jot down my notes, and I have this presentation to keep me on track. Create a presentation, create an outline, create, look at things. You don't always have to wing it. And then we want to give them that proof or show them that the change is possible. So for some of them, they might be like, oh, that change is possible for her or him, and that's why, but it's not possible for me. And this is, again, knowing your customer. Why is it possible for them? How available is it to them? Let them know, like, this is going to be a 6-month transformation. My program is a 9-month program. 9 months. And we break it down in phases, and I show them, I give them confidence. I say we've got a lot of planning in the beginning, and then we start the implementation, and I hold your hand through the implementation. And through that implementation, we're then going to move into refining it, see what worked well, what we need to tweak, what we need to change. And then they're like, yeah, but I can't afford the cost right now. Well, and I tell them, you're going to start making sales after that first 3 months. You might even make some sales before that, depending on how much you're in it and how much you're willing to get past the blocks. And they're like, oh, but the blocks, they're hanging me up. That's okay. I've got hypnotherapy for you, and it has real results. Here's the results. So find out what those objections are and show them it is possible. Again, you are doing the research. You're going to know everything about your customer. And if you think that sounds hard, meet with me. We can break that down, honey, in less than an hour. We can break it down, and I can point you in directions, Google searches that you should be doing, and we will break it down and get you a roadmap to figure out who your customer is so that you can design your customer experience. This is when it comes to sales. Okay? There's warm versus cold. And I'm sure all have experienced at some point. Someone friends you on Facebook, and then they send you a message and they're like, join my group. Here's what I'm going to offer you. Buy, say, do something. And you're just like, huh, I don't even know who you are. I don't like, unless it's extremely, extremely enticing, most likely you're just like, and unfriend, and you're so turned off by it because you were cold. They didn't warm you up. If you just met someone, you're not going to go up to them and be like, hi, da 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 da. Like, unless it's a networking event and that's what you're expecting a hi, let's see what we have in common. Like, let's make sure that we're even a right fit for each other before I offer you a solution to a problem I don't even know if you have. Right? So, this is where funnels work great. This is where freebies work great because if they're entering your funnel or they're accepting your freebie, there is that warm up. You know that okay, you know what problem they have. You know where you can start a conversation. And if you don't, at least ask them, "Hi, where are you from? What's the weather like?" Get them warm. Let them know what you do. Ask them what they do. Get to know them. This is a relationship building process. You're not looking for just a sale. You're looking for a relationship. When we have a relationship, we get repeat customers. When we have a relationship, they refer more customers to you. You do less work by having them warm. And I know in the beginning it feels like this is a lot of work getting them warm, but it pays off in the end. It does pay off in the end. This is where, having the following online gets them warm. There's lots of different ways to warm up your prospects. And we do this by inviting them, not pushing them. Okay? I'm sure you've all been in that situation when you can tell someone just wants the sell. They just want the sale, and then they're not going to care a thing about you afterwards. Versus someone that wants to sell you something because they really want you to have a transformation. They really want you to have a transformation, and they are just about willing to do anything within reasonability to get you that transformation because they care. They really care. They have a mission, they have a vision, they have values, and it is established in that know, like, and trust. Okay? So you can do in the beginning, you can do exchange of information. Hey, can you answer this survey and I'm going to help you out with this. So it's a very low input. Now, for some people, and you're probably going, but I've seen people that are selling things. It's probably because it's a really small cost for a really big value. And this depends on where you are in your business, how much time you have, how much energy you have, how much money you have, how much you're going to be able to put into this. You can do something really simple, just like a PDF. Like I have a PDF that talks about posting with purpose, which I'm definitely going to offer you the link somewhere. It's free. I'll get that to you. It's posting with purpose. It's a little PDF, and it says here's the 4 or 5 different types of posts that you should be doing. And I even create a little video to explain it. And then you try it out. You realize it works, and you're like, okay, I'm going to start following this person. I trust them. I like what they have to offer. I know they know their stuff. Okay? So, an example of how to utilize that. And then research your market. Know who your competition is. Know what it is they're offering, what they're selling. And this is something you want to check in with here and there. First of all, you want to know what's working out well for them. And then also notice what they're doing that turns you off and what you want to do different. That's super easy. As soon as you start your business, as soon as you think you know what you want to do, you should start researching what other people are doing. Because you might be able to go, oh, that's what I was thinking about, but they're doing it a lot better. Let me just do it that way and, and skip a lot of pain, okay? So this is all about strategic marketing, establishing the brand that is known, liked, and trusted. Let's summarize this, okay? So if one, you want to know your audience. You want to research. You want to understand them. You want to know that you have a solution for their problem. And as we do this, we're going to establish an emotional factor, a logistic factor, and really know the value. We're going to establish that know, like, and trust factor by storytelling, humanizing, educating. And then we're going to invite them for a transformation, not push it, invite it, establish that relationship. Now, this is something that I do in my program. This is also something that I am offering at the moment for people who attend the training today live or catching the replay today. I'm going to be offering them a free session in exchange for a testimonial. And this is the first step. This is where we start within the Millionaire Maker business blueprint. As you can see, these are some huge topics to cover. And then all of the how we're doing this, all of the sales, everything, we have all this laid out. Could you imagine how much confidence you're going to show up with when you know exactly what to do? You know exactly what comes next. You know exactly how it works. And it's all customized so that you feel good about it and you see that it's going to work. Okay? So let's get you scheduled today. This is an invite. Of course, you don't have to take me up on it. I understand that a lot of people are like, oh, I've done these strategy calls and these sales calls before. Trust me, I have done them too. And I've done them sometimes just to see how other people are doing them. And a lot of people drive me crazy with these. I get on a phone call with them and they offer me absolutely no value other than just screening me to see if I can pay for their program. And I hate that. Oh, makes my blood boil because I know that if I get on a call with them and they offer me some advice that really works, then I'll come back to them. Especially if they offer me advice that really works and makes me money, I'm going to be like, oh, they know their shit. I want to work with them. And that's the way that I have decided that I want to operate. Okay. So I want to give you advice that is really going to show off that I know what I'm talking about. And I want to give you advice that is going to actually work for you. Now, the big difference that comes into play is whether you take the advice or not. And for some people, that's just because they need the accountability. And I do like to follow up with everyone. I can't say that I am the absolute best at following up with all of these because when I do a whole bunch of them, but you are more than welcome to follow up with me. Like, hey, I tried this out; it wasn't working, and I will remember you. I remember all the specifics. So schedule your evaluation today. This is something you don't want to miss out on. It's very rare that you're going to find a coach out there with as much knowledge as me that is going to give you a free call with free advice. Most of the time, I would be offering these for an hour or 45 minutes to an hour. It would at least cost $300, at least, because we're going to map it out. And if you pay, I definitely follow up. So, this is all about creating marketing that's easy for you and warmly accepted by them. We also want to make sure that we're finding a passion that lights you up, because if it lights you up, it's going to inspire them to take action. That's really, really important. And then if you're still like, I'm on the fence or I'm too scared to jump on a phone call, or even regardless, you still need to attend this one. This next webinar that's coming up on January 10th, it's the Millionaire Marketing Makeover. I'm going into so much more depth. This is a 3-day webinar. We're going to be covering the clarity, the consistency, and the confidence to get you moving from struggling solopreneur to 7-figure CEO. And again, let me click back just so you can see those action steps. You can take a screenshot if you need to, but to really jot this down and really check in with this. You can watch this replay as much as you want for the next 2 weeks, and then I'm going to be taking it down so that I can put this into a package deal, because there is a ton of information in here. And this is the summary. Then we'll be going through in the program, we'll be going through each one of these and the tactics to go through these as well. And so, as you can see, posting with purpose, which is a freebie I'll post in the group, you want to have that education piece. You want to have the playfulness piece. You want to have the human piece. You want to really start to touch on all of these and show them through your posts so that every post has purpose. And in that document, in that video, I break it down to make it really, really simple so that you don't have to spend a ton of time every single day figuring out what you're going to post. That you can plan out at least a week at a time. At least you should be doing that. And then don't forget to sign up for the Millionaire Marketing Makeover, Struggling Solopreneur to Seven-Figure CEO. Send me a message or comment here on the video, and let's get you scheduled for your evaluation. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got lots of value, and I look forward to talking to you soon, or at least seeing you in 2 weeks for our 3-day webinar.